this meeting today. I want to thank on the front end, and I know I'll become redundant later in the program, but the whole Southwest team, as well as the central office, you've done a tremendous job. The overview video that we just saw, Dr. Essex, as it relates to the various activities that are provided through the campuses of Southwest Community College was tremendous. And I'll take a point of personal privilege as a native Memphian. I am extremely pleased at the work that is going on here at the college in collaboration with so many of the different businesses and organizations throughout this community as well as the region. That's one of the things that we as members of the Board of Regents seek to encourage throughout the entire state, because that's part of our role, to work with the local community to ensure that we are providing the talent that is necessary to move us into the next millennium. So Dr. Essex and the entire team, congratulations and thank you for all you've done. Many of you are also aware that yesterday we engaged in our committee meetings that preceded today's meeting, and as part of those committee meetings we had the pleasure of having faculty and student representatives with us today. I know I have seen at least one of those individuals, but I would like to thank again Mr. Todd Beckler, Mrs. Atkins, Mrs. Braden, and Mr. West, who sat in on the committee meetings yesterday, and I acknowledged there was active participation by those members, and that's one of the things that we also want to encourage, because we are volunteer members serving on this board. But it's also good to get the insight from the local community participants as to the various policies that we are discussing, and that was most appreciative for their involvement. Also, I indicated yesterday, while we meet on a regular basis, there are others who seek to support and help our effort, from elected officials to civic leaders. I have not noticed any elected leaders with us today, but given the fact that our meetings are webcast, as most of you are aware, I would like to publicly thank them for the support that they give the Tennessee Board of Regents, because as you see through the course of the meetings today, there are a number of difficult issues that we have to decide. And sometimes they are decided in a way that we are all happy with the outcome. Others, we wish that we could have done something, but reality is you can only do so much with the resources that you have, and some difficult choices occasionally have to be made, but it is helpful to have friends in the legislature and other corridors to assist us in that regard. So we're appreciative of our outside supporters who try to help us advance the initiatives that we seek to do. And I guess lastly, before I call on our secretary to call our roll, I was appropriately admonished at, and I forget which meeting, for not acknowledging a group of Tennesseans who had come up to one of our meetings, and while they were not on the agenda, I did not acknowledge the fact that there were a group of Memphians who had gone to the meeting to express their positions as it relates to TSU, and I want to publicly acknowledge, as I privately acknowledged to them, it wasn't a personal oversight. It was a reality of their not being on the agenda, and I do not want any ill intent to come from that, because at the end of the day, hopefully we are all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. So I felt it was appropriate for me to at least acknowledge that, to ensure that as we deal with some future difficult issues relative to Tennessee State University, we can all get on the same page. That having been said, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Regent Copeland. Here. Regent Duckett.
Here.
Regent Ferris. Here. Regent Gatz.
Here.
Regent Griscom.
Here.
Regent Huffman.
Here.
Regent Johnson.
Here.
Regent Kisber.
Here.
Regent Markham.
Here.
Regent Montgomery.
Here.
Regent Rhoda.
Here.
Regent Roddy.
Here.
Regent Thomas.
Here.
Regent Weeks.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Quorum does in fact exist. First item on our agenda, and if you've picked up a copy of the agenda, you will have it, is our consent agenda. Members, you have received copies of the materials that is presented under today's consent agenda. The consent agenda allows us to dispense with the reading of the minutes. Today, you as members, we will have the opportunity to ratify all of the items on the consent agenda without discussion, unless a member has a desire for discussion on a particular item. That item can be withdrawn from the consent agenda. Does anyone have a concern regarding any item that is on the consent agenda?
I'll move approval, Mr. Chairman. Second.
It has been appropriately moved and by Regent Ferris and second by Regent Griscom that the consent agenda be approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by aye. Aye. Opposes no. I would make one technical acknowledgement. In the consent agenda, as I look to our secretary, under the May minutes, of our special called board meeting, there was a technical change which does not affect the impact of anything. We used was as opposed to were as it related to the number of applicants that had applied. And it was corrected. I just want to make sure everyone was aware of that. All right. Next item is the report of the Regents Award in Excellence in Philanthropy. I would call on Regent Roddy for that report. Regent Roddy.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'm pleased to report on our recent presentation of the Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy to the Dr. Carl Adams family and the company he founded, National Healthcare, NHC. The combined result of their philanthropic support is in excess of $1.75 million and continues to grow each year. As nominated by MTSU President Sidney McPhee, the Adams family has consistently been generous donor over the past 3 decades to Middle Tennessee. Their gifts have supported numerous activities on campus, including a wide array of scholarships, the Blue Raider Athletic Program, the Weatherford Chair of Finance, and Project Help. Their gifts have provided enhancements to Middle Tennessee State University Horse Science Program and graduate programs in business, and also supported countless other projects and activities on the campus of Middle Tennessee State University. The Adams family are leaders in the community by sponsoring various philanthropic efforts, such as the contribution of $1.25 million toward the Middle Tennessee Medical Center facility in Murfreesboro. Speaking on behalf of the Board of Regents, we appreciate having the opportunity to acknowledge Dr. Carl Adams' contributions and commitment to MTSU. For additional comments, I'd like to ask MTSU President Dr. Sidney McPhee to move toward the podium.
Thank you, Regent Roddy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Vice Chairman Duckett, distinguished board members, Chancellor Morgan, thank you so much for this opportunity to allow me to make a few remarks regarding the Adams family. I had an opportunity just yesterday to speak with Robert Adams, who's the president and CEO of National Healthcare Corporation, and told him that I will be speaking on behalf of the family at this meeting today, and he wanted me to share with you his appreciation and his family's thanks for this recognition. So on behalf of the Middle Tennessee State University family, I am indeed pleased and honored to speak on their behalf and help recognize this outstanding family for their support of our university and to recognize them as a recipient of the Tennessee Board of Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy. Ladies and gentlemen, I can think of really no other, just a few individuals who have exemplified this whole notion of giving back to the community than the Adams family, particularly the late Dr. Carl Adams and his wife, Jeannie Mae. For more than 30 years, the university has benefited from their philanthropic support, their active engagement, and wise counsel that they provided to the university. Their children, Carl, Fred, Andy, Robert, Abby, Joan, and the company that they founded, National Healthcare Corporation, has had a significant impact, not only on our university, but the community of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. The combined result of their philanthropic support is substantial and continues to grow. They have just a few weeks ago made a commitment of a multi-million-dollar commitment to our capital campaign, our centennial campaign, and Robert serves on our executive committee. The Adams family obviously meets the criterion of visionaries and the elder state persons in our community, not only for MTSU, but for a number of charities in Murfreesboro and in the mid-state area. As one of the university's first donors to provide funds for the Chairs of Excellence program, Dr. and Mrs. Adams, Carl Adams, established not one, but two of the university's original Chairs of Excellence, the Adams Chair of Excellence in Healthcare Services and the NHC Chair of Excellence in Nursing. Since establishing these chairs, the family has maintained a very strong interest in their activities and continues to provide support for the programs. As true philanthropists interested in the overall well-being of the university, their support is not limited just to nursing or the broader field of healthcare, as Carl and Jenny Mae Adams, their sons Fred, Andy, and Robert, have each identified their own philanthropic interests in our university and have provided leadership across campus in support of a number of activities and programs. Their interests and engagement with the university are measured in many ways beside their philanthropic contribution, as they have provided valuable assistance in a number of volunteer positions. Dr. Carl Adams was one of the early members of the MTSU Foundation Board. Andy, who in his own right has been extremely successful personally and professionally, in 1968 and 1971 graduate of MTSU, received the MTSU National Alumni Association Distinguished Alumni Award and was an active participant and member of the President's Advisory Council. Fred, 1972 and 1981 alum, is past president of the MTSU Foundation and served on the National Alumni Board and currently serves on the Research Teaching Farm Advisory Board of our School of Agribusiness and Agriscience. And Robert, a member of the class of 1973, currently serves on the MTSU Foundation Board and has been a member of the Dean's Advisory Board in the Jones College of Business and served as an advisor for the Adams Chair of Healthcare Services. So as you can see with this family, they have been actively engaged over many, many years and continue to give of their personal time, their financial resources to our university. So we are very, very grateful that this board has recognized the Adams family for this distinguished award, and they are absolutely thrilled. Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair, Chancellor Morgan, and distinguished members of this board.
Thank you, President McPhee.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Duckett, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Regent Roddy, and thanks to Dr. McPhee as well as to the Adams family, because they have done a tremendous job, and we appreciate the additional support that they have given to one of our TBR institutions. The next item on the agenda is the report of the Chancellor. Chancellor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Chairman Duckett. I figured out the way to best do my report is to hand it off to somebody else to talk to you. So that's what I'm going to do here in just a minute. But before I do that, a couple things I'd like to say. First of all, thank you all for being here. And I will probably say this again before the meeting's over, but Dr. Essex, thank you and your staff for a phenomenal job in hosting us at this meeting. Everything has been just absolutely perfect. We are blessed to have with us today the 2012 class of the Maxine Smith Fellows. I think many of them are in the audience, and if you would stand up or wave if you're already standing up. Yeah. You know, the Maxine Smith Fellows Program is a leadership development program that has been valuable to everybody who is involved in it. It works for us. It works for the fellows. It truly has been an exercise that has produced tremendous results for our system. And one of the fellows, Dr. Lorianne Mitchell, I think, assuming that you later adopt the report from the Personnel Committee, will be receiving tenure today. So, Dr. Mitchell, are you? But yeah. So congratulations. Lorianne is from ETSU. Brian Nolan is proud of that. You know, technology is represented in many different forms. You know, our smartphones, our iPads, our webcasting of this meeting, and the potential for the impact of technology on what we do as higher education institutions, what happens in K-12, what happens in agriculture, really in the whole world, the whole economy. Technology is a powerful tool for change and for progress. And Tennessee Board of Regents historically has been a leader in the use of technology. Our Regents Online degree program, our online collaborative program, really was a national leader, and in many ways continues to be a national leader in the use of online education delivery mechanisms. And a lot of our success in technology is due to the efforts of a lot of people in our system, but one in particular that I'm going to introduce in just a moment has played a key role in our system being on the leading edge of e-learning activities. And just recently, in the last few months, we have talked about, and Linda Weeks suggested that we really ought to have this on our agenda. We're going to do it back in March, but we ended up deferring it until today. But several months ago, in conversations with Robbie and others, it occurred to me that we ought to move beyond technology simply as a teaching and learning tool, but that same technology could really be brought to bear on the entire operations of our system. All elements of the business of higher education can benefit from the use of technology. So what we're going to do today, Dr. Robbie Kendall Melton is going to present to us what we have been doing in the e-learning environment. But what I want you to understand is we're moving beyond that. We're moving beyond simply the classroom to become a mobilized system of higher education. It's an exciting prospect. It gives us, I think, one more thing to be proud of as a system that we're going to show the rest of the country what can be done if we put our energy behind innovation. So with that, Dr. Robbie Kendall Melton, the show is yours.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Duckett, Chancellor, honorable board members. Audience, everybody take out your phones. After this presentation and what I have to share with you, you will no longer look at this as a phone. This is one of the most powerful teaching, learning, operational, workforce tools. And I'm not here just to talk about it. I'm here to show you. So I have a very quick PowerPoint, but what you all want to see, what some people in the world, even Washington and California, have not laid eyes on, you will see today. I am so pleased to share with you all, on behalf of the Tennessee Board of Regents, what we are all about. And our motto is education on demand and in your hands. So I'm going to just start out by sharing with you, we come to you with data, not only from the Tennessee Board of Regents on behalf of ETSU, but Ball State and others to say that our students are walking on our campuses. How many? 98% of our students have some type of mobile device, and basically they're playing Angry Birds. I'm not going to turn around because some people might be playing Angry Birds also. But that's okay, because we have worked out a way to look at Angry Birds, to look at it in terms of math, physics, and even literature. So I have for you data to come to share with you that we're not going to look at these phones anymore as just phones. We also know that this is big business. I want you all to know within 1 year, there have been 25 major tablets. And when you think that we have Androids, BlackBerry, Blueberry, Greenberry, and in a few weeks we have Windows 8 coming up, you'll be able to go, how are we able to keep up on this? We could lose a lot of money if we're not careful. So I'm here to share with you a business plan, a faculty and teaching plan, and to let you know we are ready for BYOD, bring your own devices. So again, they're going to click me over so you can see all of the PowerPoint, but if not, I have backup. Why? Because I have it right here on my phone that I can push out to you. Life is good. So we have a strategic plan in terms of IT. And with that strategic plan, I want you to know, on behalf of Tom Danford and his staff, we have to be very, very careful. With these phones, we can track you. We can even change you. We can change your looks without you even knowing it. Right now, that I do not have up, I have a device over there that's monitoring everything, and you wouldn't even know. Our students are coming here, and they are tapping into our networks. We have to make sure they're secure, we have privacy, so we have, on behalf of the board, an IT team to look at this to make sure that we're safe and secure. Not only that, as I'm going to move very quickly because I'm going to get to the good part, ETSU conducted a study this past spring to let us know how our faculty members and students are using devices. As you see, our faculty members are using Apple products. Our students are using Androids. What you need to know of the 184 Androids, they do not talk together, walk together, or connect together. That is a major problem. Okay? Our next slide, you will see again, we're ready. I have for you, not only on the slide, and I'll turn this way on behalf of the audience, I have a telescope, everyone. As you see, these tools are more than Angry Birds. This telescope is being tested right now on behalf of Walter State. Walter State is our first mobilized campus. On behalf, they look at this strategically as far as engagement. But I will present what the others are doing, and I am so proud of the Tennessee Technology Center, the only, and where is James King? Thank you very much. For 2 years, it was the Tennessee Technology Center faculty to stand up and look at all of this as a workforce tool. I have to get a little emotional and passionate about this because when we presented this blood pressure kit 2 years ago, people laughed at us. It was the Tennessee Technology Center that took this, tested this out, took it in the field. Everyone here knows someone with high blood pressure, but we all have cell phones. I am pleased to share with you all, we are now able to take that cell phone, that iPad, and connect a high blood pressure cuff, and it works. I'm here to share with you on behalf of Walgreens, all of your drugstore. When you walk in and you see this, you can proudly say, Tennessee Board of Regents. And that's what all of this is all about. So to move on, in terms of all of our tools and our bring our own devices, we have teaching and learning going on. We have pilots. And one of your board members sitting right here is piloting iPads in the classroom with students, Linda Weeks. And we thank you so much. And would you like to say something very quickly about your experience?
It works. It meets all the complete college goals. It works, so bring on the money. Yeah, that's good.
Bless your heart. Not only that, on behalf of Walter State, we hosted a system-wide summit in which we have Apples, Googles, Dells, all of your big players, even a representative from Washington who called us. We didn't call him to come and be a part of our summit. So on behalf of Walter State and President McCamey, Lori, if you all would please stand, because this is your time, so we can say thank you. And Dr. McCamey, would you like to say something on behalf of your staff that have worked diligently with all of this tools or toys?
Well, thank you very much. But first, thank you, Chancellor. It really goes to Dr. Melton. Without her leadership and without her coming to us and saying, would you consider becoming a mobilized campus, I'm not sure we would have gone in that direction. With her encouragement, and after purchasing, I quit counting when we purchased over 600 mobile devices for all of our employees and put them in the hands of students and anyone that would reach out and take one. Our people are energized like I have never seen them in my 42 years in education. Thank you very much.
And very quickly, because I'm going to go right over that to the table, on behalf of Tennessee Tech, we're looking at student services in terms of how they're using the devices. I am pleased to share with you that we are moving rapidly in student services. We also made a major discovery, everyone. We contacted Apple yesterday to say, guess what? You have to understand, Apple created the device. Other people are creating the apps. We found an app to change the way hearing impaired people communicate. You will see on the monitor there is an app. It was $4.99. Someone sent that app to me from Europe. 2 o'clock in the morning. I have nothing else to do with my life. I saw this. I'm a special ed person, everyone, and it's signs. In other words, I can type and the Android will sign. That is major, but that wasn't enough. I called in and said, what would happen if I could speak and I can hold up this iPad and John the Android would sign? 2 weeks ago, Apple updated the new iPad, not 1 or 2, everyone, and they put on the keyboard a little microphone. No one put it together except the Tennessee Board of Regents. I want you all to know you don't have to type anymore. I can speak, and the Android will sign. That is major across the world. And because of that, we have cut down, and again, it's not going to take away your official interpretation, but we put it in hands of deaf students, and they were able to communicate. So again, this is a powerful tool, but let's click, because we got the rock and roll over there. Again, here we are with our campus apps. I ask the presidents, please consider that next time, this year, all of our campuses will have a campus app. It will increase recruiting, retention, and it will also help with tutorial services, okay? And when you come to the next board meeting, I will not steal this from Dr. Height, but we have a special edition coming there, and he's just smiling because we'll be able to tap into every campus within the Tennessee Board of Regents, and we will actually able to go right into Cleveland State. No more said. We're going to move on very quickly. Again, we have our workforce development, and again, here you are with your blood pressure and your CVS. We have the data to say if we do not stay on the cutting edge, our students are going to come out without jobs. But we can't say that now because we are on the cutting edge. And on behalf of IT, I thank Tom Danford and all of the IT directors. We have met over 5 times to make sure our networks are secure. And I want you all to know when you thought you had the latest and greatest phones, you don't. You have major phones coming out every month, and we have to make sure, are they tools or are they toys? And moving on, I want you to know about the cost of apps. I name myself an appologist because I study apps so much. I can tell you how much they cost, where they come from, and the top cost of an app today, $999 for one app. If we aren't on top of this, we're going to lose big money. On behalf of the board, we have a system. We have a major purchase agreement. When we find cutting-edge apps, we deploy them and send one to every school. Not only that, we have quality standards, the only system with quality standards for our apps, and I will demonstrate one in a few minutes, but I want to share with you our business model. I have various tablets over there. One tablet last year called the Entourage Edge, the #1 tablet. You saw it on TV, $600. If each campus would purchase one device, we would have lost $30,000 because it was dead within 9 months. We have to be careful to make sure our devices are ADA. You all heard of the Kindle Fire. We all wanted one, but it's not ADA compliant. You have to understand when they market these, they market to the world. Our job is to make sure they are accessible. So again, we have a business model, and I'm going to move right over to the table in a few seconds. I'm going to run through the slides in terms of our quality control. And this is where you all need to be proud. I do not take credit for this. Everyone in this room has an app that they love, and they have sent me. What did we do? We put it in an app bank. On behalf of Tennessee Tech Business Center, we created an app center, and to date, we have 50,000 plus apps aligned to 98 subject areas from preschool, PhD, workforce development. We have quality reviews, we have peers going through them, and we're able to dissect the frog right here on this tablet, and we pilot all of these to make sure there's some significant differences. So as we go through, we have a mobilized team for Tennessee. Here is our business and strategic plan. You see how we integrate all of our activities with the campuses to save them money, and I'm pleased to share with you, we've been recognized by USA Today, Walter State in their summit by the U.S. Department of Education, Austin P. Mobile. Is anyone from Austin P here? Austin P was recognized internationally 2 months ago by IMS Global Solution. We also have our Merlot giving us our quality control. We were advertised, not advertised, you should say that because we don't cost anything, but they did advertise us as go to TBR for quality and for our free resources. That's by Mac Learning. Campus Technology recognized us, Sloan, and now Chancellor. I'm able to share, I have permission. Everyone, on behalf of everyone here in Tennessee, Tennessee has won one of the top technology awards from WCET that will be publicly announced July 1st, and on November the 2nd, we have to fly down to receive the top award on behalf of being a mobilized system, and I thank the Chancellor. They have one for the iPhone. The speaker was only 50 cents. 50 cents versus the one that you all know, the Jawbones, for $200. 50 cents, $200. When the meeting is over, you test it out yourself and you will go, oh my gosh. Not only that, to wrap up this presentation, we worry about security. I want you to know that we work with companies so that we are able to say, how do we secure these devices? And I love this part, please don't jump anyone, because if these are going to be in the hands of students, they're going to fall. They're going to be stepped on, rolled over. So we need cases, accessories that are durable. Not only that, on behalf of Dyersburg State, we have early childhood. And you will notice I'm now able to take toys and drive them over the iPad. We have to test these out, and I know this is public, but I have to say this. This isn't ready for us right now. It's not, even though you will see them. So before you buy, call us up. You can use that cell phone and say, is it a toy or a tool? I leave you with the latest. This is just out, and I bring you over here to the medical. We have a new medical case, and I want to share with you. Look at the lenses coming on this iPhone. I want you all to know there is a lens that they are creating that you can just place over your hand, and it will give you the first screening of skin cancer. This is not a toy or phone anymore. So I thank you all very much, and I will stay later so you can see it and touch it for yourself. Oh, and just when I was leaving, I have a watch on. It's not the watch. This is the latest. This is a cell phone. This is a camcorder. This is a heart rate monitor. This is Dick Tracy, everyone. And it's right here. So when you say can't bring any mobile devices in the classrooms, you better check the watch.
Thank you very much, Robbie. The only thing we need to work on is your enthusiasm level. If we could just get you a little more excited about what you're doing. That was great, and I think that gives you a real sense of where we have been and where we're going as a system. This is important, and it's important because it helps us be successful. And as we think about technology in a broader sense, organizationally, I failed to mention this earlier, but Robbie and her mobilization team now is attached to, for our purposes, as part of our kind of what is becoming our strategic initiative area under the direction of Vice Chancellor Wendy Thompson. And one of the things that we have done is to focus on results, focus on delivery. And y'all will recall that, I guess, starting a year ago or so, I indicated to you that we were one of the states that had been selected to participate with the Education Delivery Institute in thinking about how we structure the framework within which we create our own opportunities for success. Complete College Act gives us some very specific goals. The Complete College Act and the work that THEC has done and the implementation of that act has given us some very specific objectives. And that's a good thing because it allows us to focus our energies in a way that otherwise it's very difficult to do. So as part of our delivery intent, we have created the Completion Delivery Unit. Wendy, as you know from our past meetings, is heading that operation. We have a very talented group of people who both work in and are borrowed from other areas within the office. And this all fits together. It all fits together in that it is about the business of being successful to do what it is the state of Tennessee needs for us to do. Not what we need to do for each of our institutions, but what our institutions need to do for the state of Tennessee. So as I indicated and we discussed with you previously, at every one of our board meetings now, until I'm no longer invited, we're going to talk about delivery activities. We're going to talk about the things we're doing to try to meet the challenges that have been laid before us. So with that, I would recognize Wendy to continue that conversation. And Wendy, it's yours.
Thank you, Chancellor Morgan, Vice Chair Duckett, and members of the Board of Regents and colleagues. At the last meeting where we outlined for you how we established the completion goal of 43,202 credentials in 2025, you asked us two questions. And the first was, where are we now? And the second was, what types of things are we doing to reach our goal? And so today we're going to answer those questions for you by providing some additional information about system activities and progress. Chancellor Morgan is an excellent role model, and I'm going to follow his lead and ask someone else to come up and talk with you about data. At this time, I'm going to ask Catherine Middlebrooks, Assessment Coordinator for Access and Diversity and a member of the Completion Delivery Unit. She's going to share recent data on progress and the process that we used in the CDU to identify priority completion activities.
Thank you. All right, at the last board meeting, Vice Chancellor Thompson mentioned that the work of the Completion Delivery Unit is primarily to bring the conversation back to 5 key questions. And those are in front of you. What is our overarching goal? Where are we now? Where will we be tomorrow or next week? Are we on target to reach our goal? And if not, how do we adjust our work to get on track? At the last meeting, we answered the question, what is our overarching goal? And I'm going to review that briefly before we move on. So you saw this chart at the last board meeting, and it shows that TBR's overarching goal is to increase from a baseline of 27,499 credentials awarded in 2008, 2009, to 43,202 credentials in 2025. Along the way, we have an interim goal of 31,968 credentials in 2015, which is relatively consistent with our strategic plan goals. This completion agenda goal includes yearly targets for each of 5 credentials: bachelor degrees, associate degrees, community college certificates, TTC diplomas, and TTC certificates. And when possible, it is consistent with both the goals set out in our 2015 strategic plan and THEC's public agenda master plan. Again, as Wendy mentioned, the questions you asked in response to this goal were, where are we now on credential production, and are we on track to reach our goal? And second, what are we doing as a system to meet our goal? Those questions are entirely consistent with the 5 key questions that we as the delivery unit, or the CDU, as you'll hear me call it, ask. So we will start with the first question, where are we now? Are we on target to reach our goals? As I mentioned, the 2025 trajectory included yearly targets for each of the 5 credentials of interest. This chart shows by credential where we needed to be in 2010, 2011 to be on track to reach our goal. In other words, how many credentials did we need to produce so that we would be set for 2015 and 2025? The red bars show actual credential production for 2010, 2011, and the good news is that the goal was surpassed at all 5 credential levels. So from this, we are on track to reach our goals. The past 2 slides were 2010, 2011 data. Now we're going to look at some information for 2011, 2012. Similar to the last chart, the blue bars are where we need to be in 2011, 2012 to be on track. Before I move on to the next slide and show you actual credential production, I just want to note that the data for actual credentials for 2011, 2012 is still preliminary, and it may change over the next month as the data is finalized. But here we are. Red bars show preliminary credential production for 2011-2012 for bachelor, associate, and community college certificates. TTCs run on a slightly different schedule, so their data is not yet available to us. But we plan to show you the final 2011-2012 data for all 5 credential levels at the next board meeting. But from this, you can see that we have again surpassed our goal for the 3 credentials for which we have data, and we are well on our way towards our 2015 and 2025 completion agenda goals. All right. Returning to our 5 key questions, we've now answered the first, what's our overarching goal? We've also answered where are we now and if we are on track. So the next key question to look at is where will we be tomorrow or next year or 5 years from now or even 10 years from now? And that question and the second question that was posed by you, the board, at the last meeting, which is what are we doing to reach our goal? Those 2 questions go hand in hand. In order to predict where we expect to be tomorrow, next year, or 5 years from now, we have to consider first what strategies, either currently happening or planned, are going to impact completion. Second, we have to consider how much impact do we expect each of these strategies to have on completion, or in other words, how many credentials do we expect each of these strategies or initiatives to produce across the system. And then finally, we have to consider, when do we expect the impact of each strategy to occur? By working through this list of considerations, we'll be able to answer the question, where do we expect to be tomorrow or 5 years from now? But more importantly, we'll also be able to know very early on whether the work that we are currently doing now is sufficient to get us to our goal in 2025. The first step in working through those considerations was to identify the initiatives that will have the greatest contribution to completion across the system. And we are calling those our priority strategies. The process to identify those strategies began with a brainstorming session that involved the chancellor, the completion delivery unit, and a representative from the Education Delivery Institute. This list of strategies was then vetted by executive staff, who provided input to the list in the form of suggestions, revisions, deletions, and additions. This process then resulted in a comprehensive list of more than 35 strategies that are happening system-wide and that contribute to completion in some way. This list was then narrowed and prioritized in a work session with executive staff by using 4 key questions. So for each strategy, we asked and had a discussion about whether or not that strategy was, 1, a significant contributor to our 2025 goal, 2, whether or not it was strategically important for the system, 3rd, whether it had a significant effort led by TBR leaders and staff, and 4th, did it involve multiple institutions across the system. This produced a list, a smaller list, but still a comprehensive list of 15 strategies, which the CDU plans to monitor and provide reports on a regular basis to both the chancellor and to you, the board. And it should be noted that this list of 15 is fluid. As our priorities as a system change, the list can be updated and revised. And here is that list of 15 priority strategies. And looking at the list, you can see that it's a very diverse list. It includes strategies that fall under the purview of many of the offices within the central office. And we really believe that if we, the system, are going to reach our goal of 43,202 in 2025, it's essential that all offices within the system are working and engaged and participating in the completion agenda work. For each of these 15 strategies, a strategy leader has been selected. And the next step is for the completion delivery unit to work with each of those strategy leaders to develop a trajectory for each strategy. And that trajectory is going to be our best estimate of, based on a variety of factors, of how many credentials we expect each strategy to produce and when we expect that impact to occur. We're beginning that process with 3 of the 15 to prioritize our work, and those 3 are increasing physical capacity at the TTCs, learning support, and then the system-wide diversity plan. We plan to share those trajectories with you as we build them, and that should be over the next few board meetings. So at this point, I will turn it back over to Wendy.
Thank you, Catherine. So to sum up, we are on track to reach our 2015 strategic plan goals and our completion delivery agenda goals. And we've identified priority strategies that we think will help make us successful in meeting those goals. What we plan to do going forward at each board meeting is to have for you a presentation on a priority strategy, in addition to giving you updates on where we are, but to have a presentation on a priority strategy that we think is contributing to our completion goals, so you can be more familiar with the work that's going on towards the goal. And today, Chancellor Morgan wants to talk to you a little bit about the Learning Support Initiative, which is one of the first 3 strategies that we intend to establish trajectories for and to monitor. Chancellor Morgan.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Catherine. I meant to share with you, I did learn after our meeting yesterday that not only was yesterday Warren Nichols' birthday, it was also Catherine's birthday. So she's older than I am now, too. Learning support, and in the interest of time, I'll be brief because I think we'll have an opportunity to talk in a little more detail at our next meeting about learning support and a little more comprehensive view as we think about the strategy, we think about trajectory and what we expect it to produce so that we can measure how well we're doing. But learning support now is something that Carl Height and I were talking about yesterday, is getting a lot of conversation nationally. It has been. You know, developmental, remedial instruction is something that we haven't done very well in. And that's true not just in Tennessee, but it's true all over the country in higher education systems and institutions. We soon, I believe, in Tennessee, in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, will be getting students coming from high schools that need much, much less supplemental instruction or learning support than they currently do. But for the time being, we still have 60 to 70%, in some cases numbers even higher, students who enter our institutions with deficiencies in one or more subject areas. Usually it's math first and then language arts second. So over the years, what we have done is we have had special classes for those students to try to catch them up. And in many ways, and I have some personal experience through my family, those classes felt to students very much like the high school algebra class that they didn't do very well in high school. And they didn't do very well in that class in college either, particularly when they found out they weren't going to earn any credits for it. And that just kind of took the air out of the balloon, certainly did, which is the reason that hopefully they're not watching this, but the reason at my house that the average length of time to a 4-year degree is 10.5 years. But they got there. So, but developmental, remedial coursework was really not being successful in meeting these students. So through a lot of efforts on the part of Dr. Short and her staff over the years, we embarked on a exercise of redesigning, reinventing the way that remedial and developmental curriculum was delivered, the kinds of courses. We piloted those at several of our institutions, I guess 5 or 6 institutions where we did pilots. We have continued to explore those, and based on action that this board took some years ago, our guideline A100, is that right, Linda, A100, really mandates that all of our community colleges redesign their remedial and developmental work by next year. And as you know, the Complete College Act reinforced that, kind of accelerated the schedule for that, and suggested to our universities that they no longer ought to be in that direct business of delivering the traditional kinds of remedial and developmental. Now, it doesn't mean they don't have methods that they help students catch up. I think typically we call that supplemental instruction kind of mechanisms at our universities. Austin P, Middle, all of Memphis, all have had success in figuring out how to help students catch up and get to a place where they can be have more likelihood of being successful. But the numbers are pretty dramatic, and as I say, we'll get into numbers a little bit more next time. But Vol State, for instance, was kind of in the second wave, I guess, Warren, of the redesign effort, has had tremendous success. Significant improvements in math, in reading, in writing that really do promise to help them meet their goals under the Complete College Act, to have students that can be more successful, that will stay in school and get out of school in a more timely way. And the extraordinary thing about this to me, as a kind of the government finance guy, is it's cheaper. Not only is it better, it's less expensive. And in the case of Vol State, basically they have reduced their instructional cost for this type of instruction by 12%, and believe that once fully implemented, it'll be something closer to 27% reduction in the cost of delivering that instruction with higher success rates. So you talk about a win-win. I mean, this is it. I mean, this is the kind of thing that we need to be focused on as a system, as institutions, that we need to be reporting to you, that you should, as board members, be demanding of us to bring you things like this where we're doing better, we're more efficient, and the dollars that get freed up through more effective mechanisms can then be applied to other things that make a difference when it comes to student success. So this is what we're about. This is what we're doing. This is what we're going to talk to you about at each board meeting over the coming months and years. So with that, Ms. Chairman, I'll stop talking. I've already told you more than I know, but be happy to refer any questions you have to people that might be able to answer.
Thank you, Chancellor. Are there any questions or comments of the Chancellor? Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you. First of all, I'd love to say that that was a great presentation, and as a board member, I love seeing the data like that. It's incredibly helpful. A few questions. One, with the associate's degrees going up as quickly as they are, do we know the extent to which they're a predictor of bachelor's degrees? When we see the rise in associate's degrees, does that help us think about 3 years down the road where we'll be?
I think the answer to that is yes, it does. And of course, we have two kinds of associate. We have associate degrees that really prepare folks for workplace, and then we have students who are pursuing associate degrees that prepare them for transfer. And what we do know is that students who come into our universities as a transfer student with an associate degree are much more likely or are going to be successful at higher rates than native students at our four-year institutions. So yes, that gives us an indication that the better job we do of preparing and completing associate degrees for transfer purposes, we can expect and will expect, and we'll be able to look at that to see if that is translated into higher degrees, higher performance on our four-year degree categories as well.
And can you break down the associate's degrees then? Is it as easy as looking at the type of degree and then figuring out what the predictive rate of four-year completion is? I don't know if that's something that we could look at in the future.
Yeah, we can look at that. And I think it probably is oh, I thought Catherine was going to answer that question.
Absolutely. No, we were just going back to the list of strategies because we do have reverse articulation as one of the strategies that and transfer pathways as well. So we'll be looking at the effect of those.
Yeah.
And then I'll limit myself to two questions. I could ask a lot on that data, but do we have a metric around student debt burden, and would it be appropriate to think about figuring that out? Because we're looking at the number of completers, which is different than the number of people who start. Sure. And then what you talked about in terms of the money saving of doing remediation differently applies also to the debt burden, and I would think the metric would help us drive that to a higher level as well.
Sure, and I think that's an excellent point, and something that we ought to focus on. I'm not sure I can tell you that we have not created that metric, at least for the work that we're doing. I will tell you, and part of the conversation that some of us had the opportunity to have with the governor, you know, I think part of what we're going to be talking about in earnest over the next several months and next year or so as part of the higher education reform, or say reform, but the higher education assessment that the governor is undertaking, is really thinking, Commissioner, about all of those pieces of the financial puzzle. I mean, one of the benefits of the completion agenda and the way that the outcome-based formula has been structured is that it really is valuable to our institutions to get students through more quickly. Right. And to the extent we do that, it translates into lower need for debt, lower costs for those that are paying the cost, whoever that might be, parents or students or financial aid programs. So measuring that, trying to understand the effect of that, I think is a great idea. Absolutely.
Chairman,
Yes.
I
Richard.
assume, Chancellor, that we understand why the associate's degree piece jumped dramatically compared to the other categories, and is that a trend that's going to continue, or are there some anomalies going on here that will sort of even itself out over time?
We have some experts here in the room. Many of our presidents are here. But I'll suggest to you what I think part of the answer is, and then would invite, and actually seriously would invite anybody to Warren or anyone else. You know, the completion agenda is fairly new, but we would expect to see results more quickly at the community colleges because they're two-year programs as opposed to longer-term programs. So I think part of the initiatives, part of the innovations, the redesigning, the reallocation of resources into things that matter more for student success, we would expect to see first at the community colleges. I also think that there's probably, and Warren, you correct me if I misstate this, but there's also some ratcheting effect. There's some low-hanging fruit, if you will, but I hate to refer to it that way, but that's kind of what it is, that there's strategies that you can implement that are going to have an almost direct and immediate impact. Doing degree audits, for example. We have a lot of students who are community colleges that have been there for a while, that when you really look at the collection of credits that they have earned, they're eligible for a credential, yet they hadn't finished their program because maybe they've changed some directions and so forth. So by going in and looking at students that are there, you find these students that are really eligible for a credential, and you can proceed then to invite them to receive the credential that they've earned. So there'll be some ratcheting up based on specific strategies, but I think over time we'll continue to see improvements as the longer-term effect of improved student services, advising, student support services, the remedial developmental work that's being done through the redesign that we expect and our trajectories will reflect that we're going to have those gains on a consistent basis over multiple years.
And if I may ask you a quick follow-up.
Sure.
So as we look at these numbers here, and we see when you look at the certificates and how much they have grown, I assume we still got a plan, though, that isn't just hit a magic number of 41,000. It's also to have a percentage of these degrees in all these categories, so that even if you hit the 41, that you would still like to make sure that four-year degrees are tracking
Yes.
And moving the direction we want to go, so that as we look at this going forward, that we have a good mix and a good balance across the board. Is that?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And Warren, did you want,
Thank you, and Chancellor did an excellent job of responding to that. I might add just a couple of other things. As you will hear a little bit later from President McCamey, when we're talking about the community college report, some of the initiatives that are still ongoing. But everything from what happened with the Complete College Tennessee Act to the new funding formula, it has transformed, revitalized the way our campuses at both the technology centers, community colleges, universities have seen their role. It has transformed in the way we're doing student services, customer service, an additional emphasis on completion. So there's a tremendous number of things, Regent, that are going into this. Certainly, you will see coming forward from the colleges, as we discussed reverse transfer as an example, there are some things that the board is doing, processes that we're going to need to tweak, some procedures in order to allow us to continue moving forward without certain artificial obstructions that will continue to increase our ability for reverse transfer recognition of graduates and those type of things. But we are, with our fast track, our cohort, our accelerated learning type of things, you'll hear me speak in a few moments about a Department of Labor grant that we've submitted for healthcare workers that's going to make a big difference as well. So you will see a continuing increase. Will it be as dramatic an increase as you have seen thus far? Probably not, but you will still see a significant increase.
I had the same comments written down as Regent Griscom did about the data. I know from our own campus and from talking to colleagues at other campuses that the dead fruit or ripe fruit analogy is probably the most appropriate, especially in regards to the certificate programs, because before the new funding formula, we were not being, there was not really an incentive to do the certificate programs. And at one point on the task force, we heard that there was a 900% increase in the certificates that had been recorded for some schools, just because we had not looked at that before. So when I saw that data, I'm thinking, well, we've done what we're doing. What else is there to do? And I think that it's also difficult to say that any of the initiatives that we've put into place have had an impact, because they're just out there. I mean, we're not seeing them really implemented in a group of students who would qualify for the associate's degree at this point, unless they're older initiatives. So I would really like to see some of the earlier data and look at what we've done in the past before we've had the new funding formula, to sort of overlay that older data to get a better idea of where we were on our old trajectory as compared to where we are on this new trajectory.
That's a great question. We'll try to do that.
I think that might be a little bit more informative too.
Yeah, but the point, and we'll try to develop that. Yeah, if there was ever any doubt, go back to the chart on by credential.
And I would like to say that the baseline is before the funding
formula. We start the baseline, but in terms of trying to look at where we would have been absent the interventions, we can try to do that. But if you look at the certificate, if there was ever any doubt in anybody's mind that the outcome-based formula would modify behavior, I would invite you to look at that certificate line, because just as Linda points out, there was really no incentive to think about creating. I mean, there was incentive because we serve students and we seek to serve students. But now there is an enhanced incentive to develop meaningful credential programs, and this is a conversation that we're having with THEC and will continue to have with THEC in terms of kind of what is that meaningful credential, what counts for their purposes. But a lot of this number, and if Anthony's here, a lot of this number is Anthony's number, but all of our schools increase their production of certificates. So if we're producing certificates that are meaningful in terms of value in the marketplace, then, I mean, this is a great thing. We need to monitor that, we need to understand that. That's the other part of the conversation I think the governor is going to have with us in the coming months, is making sure that the credentials that we're producing have meaning in terms of the marketplace and the state's economy. But trying to get an understanding of where we were, where we would have been, where we're now headed because of the efforts that are being undertaken, we can try to do that. We'll try to do that kind of on a strategy by strategy basis. But as you point out, and one of the things I meant to say is that there will be no one strategy that really moves the needle, that turns the dial. It will be incremental improvements based on each of the ones we've identified. Each of our campuses have in place specific strategies and are developing specific strategies. The cumulative effect, I will tell you, is going to push us well beyond our goals. But it'll be a cumulative effect of many different things, many of which relate. So the idea of creating trajectories for each strategy in a discrete way is going to be very difficult to do, but it's worth the exercise of doing it, to try to be able to identify what's working and, importantly, identify what's not working. I mean, the quicker we can identify something that's not going to work, the better, because we can stop using resources for that and move them to something that has more promise. So you're going to be seeing a lot of data, Kevin. I mean, we're going to be throwing the numbers at you and hopefully be able to analyze them.
One follow-up. I know know that in speaking with Dale Sims earlier this spring, there was some, and I don't want to say confusion, but the whole approach to the certificate, defining the certificate.
I think confusion probably works, yeah.
And yeah, I think that probably is probably the best idea. Has that been worked out a little bit more so that all certificates are being approached equally by all institutions? Because there were some questions about, you know, what is a certificate and who qualifies for a certificate, and I knew you all were working out those guidelines a little better.
I think there's less confusion today than there was. I think it's a work in progress, but I think we've made significant progress toward defining what we mean by certificate and the effect of those certificates. But there's still work to do because we have innovative folks out there who are looking for opportunities to create meaningful certificates and embedded certificates and stacked certificates. I mean, there's a whole range of different approaches. But it is a continuing conversation with THEC to make sure that there is clarity. You know, one of the things Chairman Griscom of the Audit Committee that we discussed at the last Audit Committee with the Comptroller's audit and the findings, one of those findings related to the need to more specifically define the elements within the outcome-based formula so that there was no confusion, that everybody understood exactly what things were going to mean. So that is work that is continuing, and the area around certificates still has some work to do, although it's not nearly as confused as it was a few months ago.
I think Associate Vice.
I wanted to maybe sum up by reminding you that the work of the CDU the trajectory that we have started with, which I'm going the wrong way. The trajectory that gets us to the 43,202 is extremely linear. And where is it? Okay. That one.
There it is, yeah.
Once we develop the trajectories for the priority strategies, you shouldn't be surprised if we bring you a chart that shows we have not met a goal on this trajectory in a particular year, because it will be more this way as we determine what strategies will contribute to growth. They won't all contribute in a single year. So this trajectory will change based on our analysis of what the contribution from each strategy should be. And that's why we'll update you each time on contribution of particular strategies, so you will understand when there is expected growth, and that we will plan for the years when we know there's no growth, because we know that the growth will come in 1 or 2 years in the future. So just wanted to remind you of that.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, and that was an excellent point to make on the charts. Thank you, Chancellor. Are there any other comments or questions regarding the Chancellor's report? If not, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the reports of the presidents and directors, the first of which will be the report of the four-year schools, and Dr. Sidney McPhee will give us that report.
Vice Chairman Duckett, distinguished members of the board, Chancellor Morgan, colleagues, good morning again. On behalf of my colleagues at our university, I appreciate the opportunity to give this brief update about the exciting things that are happening on our campuses since the last time this board met. And I just want to thank you on behalf of our colleagues for taking time on your busy agenda for this report and the other reports from the technology centers and the community colleges. It's what we are all about in the final analysis, what happens on the campus. Yes, policies are important and the major decisions are important, but it's really the students, and the rubber really hits the road on the campuses. So thank you for indulging us in giving these reports to let you know about the exciting things. As you heard earlier this morning, the great activities and accomplishment that's going on at Southwest, that's really replicated across the system. I also want to let you know that just because the spring 2012 semester is behind us doesn't mean that we're idle on our campuses. All the TBR universities, and I would say the same thing for the community college and the technology centers, are in the midst of teaching summer school classes, coordinating various athletic and academic camps, and conducting orientations for students for this fall. So a lot of activities that are going on during the summer months. You will find in your packets the most recent edition of the High Science that gives the details of the various activities that I will highlight in a moment. I would like to personally share with you just a few highlights of the outstanding accomplishments that occurred on our four-year campuses since our last meeting. First, from Tennessee State University, Coach Ed Temple, in 1950 graduate of TSU, served as head women's track coach at the university from 1953 to 1994 and became one of the greatest coaches in Olympic history. And on July 12th, during an awards ceremony at the Harris Theater in Chicago, Coach Temple will be inducted into the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame as a member of the class of 2012. Major accomplishment there. I'm also pleased to report that 8 TSU athletes are recognized as the Arthur Ashe Jr. Sports Scholars. These students not only represent outstanding athletic abilities in football, track, and basketball, but also display outstanding academic performances in the classroom. At Tennessee Technology University, after many months of work, students assessed and updated the 2001 report of the National Energy Policy Development Group of 2012, underlined National Energy Policy Development Group. TTU Professor Glenn Cunningham believes that with the worldwide competitive economic system now in place, American manufacturers must have the best possible energy costs in order to compete successfully in the global marketplace. Also this summer, 20 Tennessee Tech engineering and business students will spend 2 weeks at Seal Baya University in Turkey. These students have developed ideas from packaging to marketing several Turkish products in the United States. This initiative offers opportunities for collaboration, integration, and real-life experience. A group of students from Seal Baya University will return with Tennessee Tech University students to work on service learning project. And just as a side note, as a matter of fact, just a few weeks ago, Vice Chancellors King and Thompson, President Shields, along with several representatives from the community colleges, and I just returned from Turkey last week on an educational and cultural trip. And President Bell, it was interesting, we stopped on our way from visiting the city of Ephesus in one of the outlet cultural stores, and lo and behold, we looked up and there was a huge plaque that had Tennessee Tech in this store outside the city of Ephesus with these students' signed signature. And I called the manager, where's President Bell? I called the manager, I want to see the manager, and I said, what in the world is you doing with a sign with Tennessee Tech? This is a true story, ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of weeks ago. Shouldn't that be Middle Tennessee State or the University of Memphis? No, I really said Middle Tennessee State. But true story, and the manager told me about the incredible partnership that these students had with one of the managers in that store, and they had been there before, and they signed. You know what I'm talking about, Dr. Bell? True story. Your university has a global outreach. Let's give President Bell this round of applause for that. At the University of Memphis, the U of M tapped to help title develop digital tutoring software for STEM students. The Office of Naval Research has selected the U of M as one of 4 academic and industry teams to develop affordable digital tutoring software to improve the science, technology, engineering, and math knowledge of middle and high school students. The U of M faculty members and 5 psychology and computer science graduate students will participate in the 2-year STEM education project. The team's work ultimately will be used to enhance the STEM skills of students, sailors, and Marines while preparing for the future naval science and engineering workforce to address emerging defense challenges. This is an $8 million initiative and is designed to spur innovation and creativity in cost-effective digital tutors that tailor instruction to students. Just absolutely incredible innovation, making a national scene and presence by the University of Memphis and the colleagues there. Also, recently, the University of Memphis Research Foundation and Foundation Instruments Incorporation has signed an exclusive licensing agreement for technologies to enable quicker and less expensive testing for cancer-causing impurities in drinking water supplies. Generated in the U of M Department of Chemistry, the new technology enabled development of miniaturized mobile devices to allow water utilities to watch carefully for regulated pollutants. Dr. Raines, be careful of Dr. Robbie Melton, mobilization. She will be tracking your campus out and doing a display of that. But just another remarkable accomplishment going on at the University of Memphis. At Austin Peay State University School of Nursing is partnering with the Matthew Walker Comprehensive Healthcare Center to provide a diabetes management program for low-income adults with the help for a grant from a national healthcare foundation. Austin Peay's nursing students will work twice a week with patients at Matthew Walker Health Center in Clarksville to educate them on disease management. The center's Dial Down Diabetes program target the African American and the Latino communities and is a comprehensive community-based program for low-income adults with diagnosed diabetes, undiagnosed diabetes, and pre-diabetes. And as you all know, more than a year ago, Austin Peay State University launched Degree Compass, a course recommended system to help students stay on track towards graduation, which quickly garnered state and national attention. And from Dr. Melton's presentation a moment ago, looks as though they're going to be making a lot of money, and all of us are going to be checking with Tim and his colleagues to share some of that money that they're going to be making because of this major innovation. But that really is an incredible accomplishment, again, on behalf of our colleagues at Austin Peay. Finally, at Austin Peay, on May 18, Austin Peay received a Learning Impact 2012 Bronze Award for the IMS Global Learning Consortium in Toronto, Canada, during its worldwide annual competition. And Austin Peay was among the 26 international finalists invited to participate in the exhibit and was the only American university to receive an award designation at the conference. Recently at East Tennessee State University, we have received the 3 U.S. Department of Education grants totaling nearly $1 million for its Upward Bound program. The program offers tutoring, ACT preparation, and workshops on topics such as career counseling, career planning, and test and note-taking for an estimated 200 regional high school students each year. This particular program, ladies and gentlemen, has been in existence for over 30 years and currently serves 14 high schools. According to the program director, the goal is to help students through high school and to prepare them to be successful in college. And lastly, at ETSU, the U.S. Olympic Committee has officially designated this university as a U.S. Olympic training site for weightlifting. Through a partnership with the Olympic Committee and USA Weightlifting, ETSU will recruit men and women with proven records in both weightlifting and academics to aspire to compete at the Olympic level. Those selected will be admitted to the university as full-time students. Dr. Mike Stone, Director of Exercise and Sports Science Laboratory, and a nationally and internationally recognized scholar in sports medicine and sports science. Meg Stone, a two-time Olympian and director of ETSU's Chair of Excellence for Sports Science and coach of education, and President Emeritus Paul Stanton were instrumental in establishing this partnership. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see from the handout, we have many great things happening at Middle Tennessee State University. As we began a year ago, our year-long centennial celebration and bring it to a close this past April, we announced the largest fundraising campaign in the institution history. And during the campaign's public launch, we announced a $10 million gift from the alumnus and entrepreneur Andrew Woody Miller, Jr. of Nashville. And as an aside, I'll be spending some time with him in a couple of weeks, and I do plan on digging a little bit deeper in his pocket. This is the largest outright gift to our university by an alum. And finally, as you know, and many of you are cheering and knowing that you will not be hearing from MTSU again for at least for a little while, on May 3rd, we had the groundbreaking of our $147 million science building. I want to thank many of you board members and colleagues who have been so instrumental in helping us, and particularly our colleagues at THEC, in achieving this, along with the governor. Just 2 days ago, I had an opportunity to present a full shovel to the governor and his office, along with the Speaker of the House, and we wanted to remind them how much we appreciate their support of this wonderful facility. Thank you so much. As I conclude this presentation, ladies and gentlemen, this is my last presentation to you as the convener of the four-year university. I, with great sadness, turn over the gavel to the newest president of our system, four-year college. President Brian Noel will be assuming this wonderful opportunity for this coming year, and it's with great regrets that I turn this gavel over to him, but I know he's very capable. And as I complete my remarks, I want to offer my best wishes and that of our colleagues to President Bob Bell on his retirement. And he has a smile on his face. He's had that smile on for a couple of months, and but we wish him well, he and his wife. Bob, congratulations to you. And finally, I want to thank President Nate Essex and his staff for hosting another great meeting. He has set the bar very high. They've done a wonderful job. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to present this report to you.
Thank you, Dr. McPhee. Are there any questions or comments of Dr. McPhee? If not, we will move to the report on the two-year schools, and Dr. Wade McCamey will make that report.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Dr. McPhee referred to his report as brief. Community colleges use another term. We have learned to do things quicker. So I will demonstrate. Please set your watches. Vice Chairman Duckett, Regent members, Chancellor Morgan, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Tennessee Community Colleges. I'm pleased to share with you today that thanks to the leadership of Chancellor Morgan and Vice Chancellor Nichols, Tennessee Community Colleges move even closer to further implementing the Complete College Tennessee Act of 2010 by unveiling our new 3-star red, white, and blue logo that you will find on the front of our report, along with the new tagline, creating opportunities, pursuing possibilities, as depicted and noted on the front. All of this and much more will soon be featured on our new system website, documenting the many new changes that are taking place within our system. In the written report, please note the focus on, number one, exemplary technical programs, and consistent with the Chancellor's report, we were pleased to highlight redesign initiatives on learning support for each of your Tennessee community colleges. 3 big thank yous. First, to President Nate Essex and his warm and gracious staff for an excellent job of hosting this meeting. Secondly, to President Bob Bell for his exemplary services to Tennessee Tech University. And third, to Vice Chancellor Paula Short for her years of service and leadership to the academic arena. 3 big welcomes. First, to Dr. Jerry Fortner in his new role as President of Vol State. Secondly, to Dr. Phil Oldham in his new role, stepping up as President of Tennessee Tech. And thirdly, to Dr. Kay Clark, who has agreed to accept the new role as Interim Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. In closing, and as part of the Community College report, I'd like for Dr. Nichols to come forward and provide you with an update on the status of the $14 million workforce development grant that has been proposed for your Tennessee community colleges. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wade, and members of the board, Vice Chancellor. It's all about jobs, and we've been listening to Governor Haslam, President Obama, members of our board, our business and industry community, all about jobs and skill gaps. And at the same time, we see the unfortunate circumstances where we have businesses and industries throughout our state closing their doors, manufacturers, businesses and industries, leaving a tremendous number of people unemployed and literally poverty-stricken. Through a Department of Labor grant, I'm very happy and proud to announce that the 13 community colleges and the 27 technology centers went in together to apply for a $14.6 million Department of Labor Trade Adjustment Act grant. This grant is specifically designed to get people who have lost their jobs based upon companies closing and going out of country. So we have, again, working with our colleges and technology centers, put together this grant primarily designed for healthcare workers. You have a sheet that hopefully has been circulated or will be shortly circulated to you, and that will go into the specifics. So I won't go into that with you, but Regent Huffman, specifically in regards to some of the questions that you asked, along with Regent Grissom, some of the questions you asked regarding the certificates leading towards 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees. This grant specifically will put people back into the workforce, immediately in the workforce, but also in healthcare, logistics, criminal justice, some other programs leading to 4-year degrees and master's degrees as well. So this will help us continue that climb and that upward climb to achieving the goals of additional awards and degrees and conferrals, but candidly, much more importantly, will take a lot of our people and put them back to work in as quickly a time frame as we possibly know how to do. So again, thank you for your time, and appreciate the hard work that y'all are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have a report on the Tennessee Technology Centers, and Dr. Brad White will provide us that update.
Well, I I think Dr. Brad White is as smart as the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor Wendy Thompson, because he sent me to do his report today. Unfortunately, Dr. White is having surgery, rotator cuff surgery, so we send good well wishes to him. But I'm delighted to be here today and share with you the news of the Tennessee Technology Centers. And I want to start out by thanking, of course, Southwest for their hospitality, and certainly TTC Memphis for the delicious lunch yesterday. I get my thank yous out of the way. Yesterday, we were very fortunate to hear from Greg Patrick. I think you enjoyed his presentation as the outstanding student for the Tennessee Technology Centers. I think you'll agree with me that he will represent not only TTC Ripley, the other 26 technology centers, but the Tennessee Board of Regents as he shares his story and his enthusiasm for how higher education can change your life. And I think that we will certainly look forward to hearing more from Greg. Your newsletter is highlighting all 5 of the additional candidates, finalists I should say, in the Outstanding Student Program. I hope you'll take time to take a look at those and read those. The students were simply outstanding, and I think you'll enjoy their stories that they have to tell. Also, our newsletter is highlighting the Memorandum of Understanding with Hermela Community College in Saudi Arabia. The agreement recognizes the mutual benefits to be gained through international academic and research collaboration between the Tennessee Technology Centers and their campus. We certainly look forward to the Saudi students coming to the Tennessee Technology Centers, both to receive some technical training and workshops, and the more technical side versus the academic side that they're receiving in Saudi Arabia. And this, of course, is in response to the Vice Chancellor being in Saudi Arabia on the Council of Occupational Education accreditation visit. So we look forward to doing that. To my knowledge, this is the first time we've had an agreement with outside the state, to be quite honest with you, with our technology centers. So we're excited about that. Yesterday, Regent Grissom mentioned the state Skills USA competition and how exciting that was to see that on the state level. And I would just love for you to be able to go with us to the nationals. Earlier this week, 15,000 people, including students, teachers, and business partners, participated in the week-long National Leadership and Skills Conference in Kansas City. And we really did have a great time. Tennessee had a wonderful showing. We had over 100 students, delegates, directors, board staff participating. Over 70 students competed in the national competition, which they were already the best in their state, and now they competed to see if they could be the best in the nation. And we're happy to say that Tennessee won over 30 medals in both leadership and skilled conferences, competitions. We received a gold medal in the Quiz Bowl, which is the 2nd year in a row, and it's just as hard the second time around as it was the first time, but TTC New Bern did that. Diesel equipment from Harriman, opening and closing team from TTC Elizabethton, and medical assisting from TTC Knoxville, which is also the second time for this to happen. We earned 14 silver medals and 3 bronze medals. And I'm going to deviate just a second and say that we won a silver medal in the Health Knowledge Bowl. And the reason why that is so near and dear to my heart is it's the first time that Tennessee has been in that competition at the state level and the national level, and we came home with the silver. We beat out a university, but I won't go into that. But anyway, I think Bob Adams might be thinking about us a little bit more now. But anyway, we're very happy and excited about that. You'll be able to see our medalists in September and hear a little bit more about their experiences and what's going on. I'm also proud to report that Tennessee will now have 2 national state officers. TTC Elizabethton will be represented along with the state by Mark Rourke, and also TTC at Chattanooga State will have Mary Callawuri. I'm trying hard, Jim Barrett. I'm trying really hard. I practiced all week and still not sure I got her name. I know I didn't, but you will meet her as well. Just delightful students that will have the opportunity to work with the national staff. And speaking of the national staff, Vice Chancellor King was elected as the president of the National Skills USA Board of Directors. That's an organization that represents over 340,000 folks, students, institutions, business and industry across the nation. He'll serve a 2-year term. We know that he will take with him the dedication, his knowledge, and his enthusiasm that he has shown in this state, and we're very proud of that. I also know we might be doing a little more work around the office to help him. We also want to highlight and recognize TTC Athens student Seth Lunsford. He competed and won the top prize in the welding division at the National Craft Championship in San Antonio, Texas. Now, the nice thing is that this young man is a new welding student, but competed against many seasoned welders and was still able to earn the gold. So not only in skills, but other technical competitions, we are, I hope, making the Tennessee Board of Regents proud. Steve Mallard, who is a TTC Shelbyville faculty member, received a Distinguished Service Award from his community because of his dedication and knowledge and expertise in helping in so many community activities. So we're very proud of Steve as well. I also want to talk about a little bit about 2 weeks ago, we had the honor of having 6 people from the Texas State Technical Colleges visit the technology centers. They were visiting the TTCs to review our technology foundations, our student services, and discuss our high completion rates. Certainly this is, again, in due to the national attention that we have been so fortunate to receive, and they wanted to come down and share some information and talk with our students, talk with our faculty members, and we just really had a wonderful time. And of course, this is all based on the work that we have been doing and also the national attention. So we're really happy about that. One thing that has already come out of that meeting is they have contacted me and asked me if they could bring several faculty members to Tennessee for some in-services and workshops with our faculty members. So I'm excited to be able to get to work on that and have the folks from Texas come up. They had this understanding of a UT a whole different way than we do, Chancellor Morgan. They didn't know anything about Orange there. And of course, we didn't want to talk much about Orange, but they're a little confused. We're going to work with them and help take care of that. And at this time, also, I wanted to mention again and thank Dr. Nichols and the community colleges for allowing us to work with them on the $15 million grant. We hope to get good news on that particular grant. We're also working with another group of community colleges on Department of Labor grant, $15 million on working with remedial and development. And so we're excited about that, and we'll also keep our fingers crossed on that grant as well. And finally, it's time to say some thank yous. And Dr. Bell, we want to thank you for your leadership at TTU and certainly the partnerships and dedication that you have shared with the technology centers. And we will truly, truly miss Dr. Bell in that course. We also want to pass along good luck wishes to Dr. Paula Short in her new position at the University of Houston. Dr. Short worked closely with the Tennessee Technology Centers, and we will miss her as well, but wish her good luck. And at this time, we want to wish our own Jim Dixon and Jeff Davis the best of luck in their retirement. We will certainly miss their knowledge and expertise and roll up their sleeves work ethic. They were always there helping this system not only in the state but also in the region and nationally. So we will miss them, but we know and trust that they'll have a great retirement, and we hope they'll come back to visit us often. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Perrier. Any questions or comments?
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. There is no unfinished business to come before us today, as a result of which we will now move into new business. First item under new business is the election of the chairman and vice chair for the upcoming year 2012-2013, and for that I would call on Regent Thomas to handle that portion of the agenda.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Duckett. It is my honor and privilege to nominate our 2 officers for the coming year, Governor Bill Haslam as our chairman, and to re-elect Governor Bill Haslam, and also re-elect Vice Chairman Greg Duckett to be our
chair, our officers for the next year. Are there any other nominations for either of these two offices? If not, do I have a second? Second. Second by numerous people. Any further discussion? This matter requires a voice vote only. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, Vice Chairman Duckett.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll now turn it back over.
And now I'm prepared to give my hour-and-a-half acceptance speech. No, let me just say briefly, I sincerely appreciate the honor to continue to serve as vice chair of this organization. A lot is before us. I am privileged of the confidence the governor, as well as my colleagues here and the staff of TBR has placed in me as we confront a number of challenging issues. 2012-2013 is going to be an interesting year for us because the governor, as a number of you have probably already read in the newspaper, has targeted this upcoming year as a year that he really wants to place a major emphasis on higher education, and we're going to be critical in that regard. And as such, I pledge to do my best, but I also remind each of you that I am human, and as a human, we are all subject to mistakes. And if there is a mistake, I am one that I take constructive criticism in the light that it is given and welcome it. So let's continue to work together, and I look forward for the upcoming year being a great year for TBR. Because we have a number of important challenges to continue to be confronted with. So thanks again. Next item on the agenda is the report of the Finance Business Operations Committee meeting on June 28th of this year, and that includes the approval of tuition and maintenance fees, as well as the approval of the funding for operations for the upcoming fiscal year 2012-2013. And for that, I would call on Regent Farris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Business Operations Committee met in special session on Tuesday, June the 12th, to review and recommend approval of tuition and maintenance fees for the fiscal year 2012-2013. After many meetings over the last 6 months, the committee recommendation before you takes into account the financial condition of our institutions, including the cumulative effects of several years of state funding reductions and the implementation of both the new outcome funding formula and removal of the hold harmless provision of the old formula. Before I go over the recommendations of the committee, I'd like to call on Chancellor Morgan for any comments he might have.
Thank you, Chairman Ferris. I'll be very brief. I think it's fair to say that nobody enjoys raising tuition, raising fees. But I will tell you, I appreciate the work the committee's done, the work our institutions have done, and the staff to the committee in bringing forward recommendations to you that reflect the reality of our funding circumstance. We're replacing some lost state dollars. We're rounding out the dollars required for the across-the-board salary increase that was provided by the legislature. But importantly, our institutions, to the extent that they are generating some additional resources through these fee increases, I think students, while we don't like asking students to pay more, I think students can expect more, because the dollars we're raising are for specific kinds of things that will help students be more successful. So it's an investment. It's an investment of their dollars that they should see a return on in terms of services, in terms of better faculty or more stable faculty, in terms of really our higher education enterprise doing a better job of helping students succeed. So while it's not particularly fun to raise fees, I think we have gone about it in a thoughtful and reasoned way, and I feel good about the recommendations before you.
Specifically, let me go over some of the recommendations of the committee. And of course, these fee adjustments vary among the institutions based on the institution's need. The increases, including the impact of changes in mandatory fees, range from a low at Austin P of 3.4% to a high of 7.2% at ETSU. The community college recommendations are as follows. Recommendations are intended to increase maintenance fee and tuition revenues by 5%. Increases, including the impact of changes in mandatory fees, range from a low of 4.2%, which is at several of the community colleges, to a high of 4.8% here at Southwest Tennessee Community College. The technology centers, there'll be a 6.2% increase. As far as the professional schools are concerned, the University of Memphis Law School will have an 8.2% increase. East Tennessee State University College of Medicine will have a 3% increase, and the pharmacy school will have a 4% increase. In addition to tuition and maintenance fee increases, the committee recommended approval of the transfer of $50 of the ETSU College of Medicine debt service fee to the student activity fee account to fund operation of the newly constructed student center for College of Medicine students. As also part of this report, I'm going to ask that the board consider a recommendation of the Finance Committee meeting yesterday, which dealt with the approval for funding operations for fiscal years 2011, 2012, and 2012, 2013. As part of the committee's report, you've been provided with the operating budget for the system totaling $2.9 billion for the fiscal year 2011, 2012, and $2.7 billion for fiscal year 2012, 2013, which were both recommended for approval at yesterday's meeting. This budget is based on the level of state funds recommended in the governor's proposed budget, as well as early estimates of factors such as an enrollment growth, research activities, and availability of federal funds. The full effect of the approved fee increases and any enrollment changes will be included in the October revised budget, which we'll consider at that time. As committee chair, I move the board approve the report of the June 28, 2012 meeting of the Committee on Finance and Business Operations, which includes the consent agenda items, tuition and maintenance fee recommendations for 2012, 2013, the operating budget for both fiscal year 2011, 2012, and 2012, 2013, and the proposed new policy 4010010 dealing with community college resource allocation plans that we considered yesterday. And I'll move that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Regent Farris. You've heard the motion by Regent Farris. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any comments? I guess as ex officio member of all of our committees, I want to extend a round of gratitude and acknowledge and echo what the Chancellor has said as a comment. These are not easy decisions, but I do commend the diligent work that the committee has done, and as we say sometimes in the industry, scrubbing the numbers to make sure what we're doing is what has to be done. So I have participated in a number of the phone calls and special meetings, and I appreciate the time that the committee has spent in dealing with this issue. This is a matter, any other comments by any regents? If not, this is a matter that requires a roll call vote. I would call on the secretary to call the roll.
Regent Copeland? Aye. Regent Duckett?
Aye.
Regent Kisber. Regent Ferris. Regent Gatz. Regent Griscom. Regent Huffman. Regent Johnson. Regent Markham. Regent Montgomery. Regent Roddy. Regent Thomas. Regent Weeks. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the report of the Personnel and Compensation Committee meeting on June 28th, 2012. That includes faculty promotions, approval of the system compensation plan, recommendations, and cost of living allowance. Called on Regent Montgomery for that.
Thanks, Vice Chair Duckett. The Committee on Personnel and Compensation met yesterday on June 28th, recommends adoptions of our personnel actions, and I'll give you some of the highlights of our actions. The approval of the President's Emeritus contracts for 2012-2013, approval of proposed revisions to TBR policy, which is a sick leave policy, and tenure and promotion recommendations at the universities and community colleges. There are 176 faculty members are recommended for tenure, 313 faculty members are recommended for promotion, and at the TTC institutions, 17 recommended for tenure, and 41 faculty members are recommended for promotions. All promotion increases are in accordance with each institution's compensation plan, and all recommendations are eligible for promotion. The next item that was recommended was for consideration the request for amended compensation plans for Cleveland State Community College, Columbia State Community College, East Tennessee State University, Middle Tennessee State University, Northeast State Community College, Pellissippi State Community College, Southwest Tennessee Community College, Tennessee Tech University, University of Memphis, Tennessee Technology Centers, the Central Office, which includes the central office staff, the executives, president, and Tennessee technology directors. The third item was a recommended 2.5% system-wide cost of living increase for eligible employees, which will be effective on July 1st, 2012. These are all regular, full-time, part-time who are eligible for this increase. The also, which includes a performance bonus plan of up to $1,000, and that's at the discretion of the institution. The fourth item recommended was to revise the presidential search process, and that was approved by the committee. The final item for consideration for recommendation for approval is the approval of interim appointment of Dr. Kay Clark as Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. I move for the approval of the actions per our Personnel Committee report.
Thank you, Regent Montgomery. You've heard the motion by Regent Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Regent Clark. Any discussion? Hearing none, this is an item that requires a roll call vote. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Regent Copeland.
Aye.
Regent Duckett.
Aye.
Regent Kisber. Regent Ferris. Regent Gatz. Regent Griscom. Regent Huffman. Regent Johnson. Regent Markham. Regent Montgomery. Regent Roddy. Regent Thomas. Regent Weeks. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Next item, we have a series of items on the agenda which are happy on the one hand and sad on the other hand, and let me editorialize and to make sure no one misconstrues my comment. Happy for those that are having a chance to retire and have had great careers with the system, but also sad that they're moving on because they've done a tremendous job. Also, as it relates to our faculty and student regent that are with us now, they will be ending their term, and we'll be sad to see you to leave. As I've said publicly and privately, I really have appreciated you guys jumping in and really bringing added value to the board, and I think my colleagues share that sentiment as well. First item is a resolution of appreciation to Regent Linda Weeks, and that will be presented. I call on Regent Kisber for the presentation of that.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. In Region Weeks, it's the sad heart that I read this, but it's been a joy knowing you and associating with you. Thank you for all you did. Whereas the Tennessee Board of Regents, in regular session at Southwest Tennessee Community College in Memphis, Tennessee, wishes to express its sincere appreciation to Ms. Linda S. Weeks for her service as faculty regent, and whereas she was appointed to this position by the Honorable Bill Haslam, Governor of the State of Tennessee, for the 2011-2012 academic year, and whereas she has fulfilled her responsibilities in an exemplary manner by contributing to the governance of the institutions within the purview of the board by sharing her concerns for the faculty within the board system and for educational quality, and whereas she has provided leadership, guidance, and expertise to the board in the areas of articulation and student life, and has represented her colleagues and students of the TBR system with unwavering and distinguished service, and whereas she has used her experience to devote considerable time, effort, perspective as a member of the Committee on Academic Policy and Programs and the Tennessee Technology Center Committee, and whereas during her tenure with the board, she has unfailingly fulfilled her responsibilities through active participation in board deliberations and contribute greatly to the governance of the system, and whereas she is an individual of high integrity and wisdom with truly a sincere interest in the welfare of the Tennessee Board of Regents system and Tennessee higher education, and whereas her tenure has been marked by selfless support of the system and a number of its individual institutions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tennessee Board of Regents system express its sincere appreciation to Ms. Linda S. Weeks for her dedication and contribution to the board and its institutions, and extend best wishes to her in all of her future pursuits. And may I say, Linda, it has been a pleasure working with you.
It has been a pleasure working with all of you. It's a personal and professional experience that I truly value, so thank you very much.
So you put that in the form of a motion? Yes, you've heard the motion of the resolution appreciation of appreciation for Regent Weeks. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Regent Thomas. Any additional comments? Hearing none, this matter we can conduct by voice vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposes no. Any additional comments, Regent Weeks?
This is a really valuable position, I think, for the board and for higher education in Tennessee. And I really cherish the support that I got from all of you and the encouragement to hear from the faculty at our institutions. So thank you, and I hope that tradition will continue wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Regent Weeks. Next, we have a resolution of appreciation for Regent Lee Gatz, our student rep on the board. I call on Regent Farris to present that resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution of appreciation for the service of Mr. Donald Lee Gatz III as student regent for the Tennessee Board of Regents. Whereas the Tennessee Board of Regents in regular session at Southwest Tennessee Community College in Memphis wishes to express its sincere appreciation to Mr. Donald Lee Gatz III for his service as student regent. And whereas Mr. Gatz was appointed student regent by the Honorable Bill Haslam, Governor of the State of Tennessee, for the 2011-2012 academic year, and as such, he has been an instrument of positive and effective change. And whereas Mr. Gatz's contributions to higher education are commendable and have included providing insight on such important issues as student life and articulation, and whereas Mr. Gatz has used his experiences to devote considerable time and effort as a member of the Committee on Academic Policies and Programs and the Finance and Business Operations Committee, and whereas he was appointed to serve as the student representative on the search committees to select the new presidents at Volunteer State Community College and Tennessee Tech University. And whereas during his tenure with the board, Mr. Gatz unfailingly fulfilled his responsibilities through active participation in board deliberations and contributed greatly to the governance of the system. And whereas he is an individual of high integrity and wisdom with truly a sincere interest in the welfare of the Tennessee Board of Regents system and Tennessee higher education. And whereas his tenure has been marked by selfless support of the system and a number of its individual institutions, and now therefore be it resolved that the Tennessee Board of Regents expresses its sincere appreciation to Mr. Donald Lee Gatz III for his dedication and many contributions to the Tennessee Board of Regents system. And Lee, we've really enjoyed having you with the board, and appreciate you serving on the Finance Committee, and we're really going to miss you. So I'll move that resolution, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Regent Ferris. It has been properly moved that the resolution of appreciation be approved. Is there a second? Second. It's been seconded by Regent Montgomery. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I call on Regent Gatz. Any comments you'd like to make?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. It's been a wonderful year. What a great opportunity for me to meet all of you, and I hope that I've been as enjoyable to this board as you have to me. And it's been one of the fastest paced years of my collegiate career so far. But I truly appreciate the experience. Chancellor Morgan, thank you so much for all you do as well. You truly are a fearless leader for all of the students in the state of Tennessee, and we appreciate that. And the last thing I would like to say is a special thank you to Sandra Mason. She took me under her wing really early, and I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much. All of those phone calls, I had to call and ask you about what's going on and stuff. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Real quickly, I just want to say, Lee did actually the sacrifice to be on this board. His grades suffered because he was on this board, and we appreciate that. That's something you can always remember, that you gave you really truly gave something up for your service on the Board of Regents. So thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
He made a B.
Next, we have a resolution of appreciation for President Bob Bell, as well as his resolution includes the granting of President Emeritus status. I call on Regent Copeland.
Thank you. I read this with some sadness, and I'll read it and make some comments about why I'm so sad. This is a resolution of appreciation for the service of Dr. Robert R. Bell to the Tennessee Board of Regents. Whereas Dr. Robert R. Bell has 36 years of service with the Tennessee Board of Regents system and Tennessee Tech University, serving as a professor in TTU's College of Business, then as dean, then as president of the university since 2000. Whereas as president of TTU, he oversaw 11 straight years of enrollment growth, with TTU's enrollment approaching 12,000. Whereas he chaired a TBR Vision of Teaching Excellence Committee in 2004 to establish future teaching standards and led his university to develop and expand extended education, distant learning, and virtual classroom. Whereas he supported the Regents' online degree program and championed degree innovations at TTU to increase access to education and to respond to industry's need in order to improve the education and economic progress in the state. Whereas as president, he set his sights on a program to prepare the state teachers from pre-K to college level to teach science, technology, engineering, and mathematics by establishing the Millard Oakley STEM Center and providing it a state-of-the-art home in the new 26,000 square foot Ray Morris Hall in 2010. Whereas he recognized the need for a nursing school in rural Tennessee and garnered support from the state legislature, U.S. Congress, and private and corporate donors to fund the construction of a multi-million-dollar nursing and health service building. Whereas he kept his promise as president to upgrade facilities to increase recruitment and retention, and oversaw the construction and completion of 2 residence halls Newhall South, and Newhall North. Whereas under his guidance, TTU established learning villages, which aims to bring students and faculty together around a common interest and bridge the gap between the living and learning segments of campus and encourage college completion. Whereas the university endowment has doubled during Dr. Bell's presidency to nearly $60 million. Whereas under his leadership, in a difficult economic environment, TTU has remained affordable. Students graduate with the lightest debt load in the region. I need to make a point of that's an understatement. That's the lightest debt load in any public university in the South. So I think according to the U.S. News and Report, they've underestimated. And 60% of 2010 TTU graduates left school debt-free. Whereas the Tennessee Board of Regents grant President Emeritus status to Dr. Robert R. Bell for his continued support of the system. Now therefore be it resolved that the Tennessee Board of Regents express its sincere appreciation to Dr. Robert R. Bell for his outstanding contributions and leadership to the system and wish him the very best in his retirement, and I move to approve.
You've heard the motion by Regent Copeland to resolution appreciating Dr. Bell for his service with the Board of Regents as well as granting him President Emeritus status. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been seconded by Regent Montgomery. Any comments?
Yes, I'd just like to follow up and say when I express the word sadness, it's not just me in Cookeville. When Dr. Bell announced that he was going to retire, I can tell you there was a sense of great loss, truly. And not just from the standpoint of educating the students, that's what he's supposed to do. And there's been many awards and accolades and recognitions over the years for Tennessee Tech under his leadership. But what I wanted to bring out that's important to me, as well as being a board member, but as a fellow Cookevillian, what Bob Bell and Judy has meant to our community. I can just share with you there's not two individuals in the Upper Cumberland region more respected. I think you could argue, given the fact that Tennessee Tech is located in a rural environment, there's probably no greater position of responsibility than to be president of that university. And as Chancellor Morgan has said numerous times, that the decisions we make in hiring our presidents is probably the most important decisions that we have to make. And I'm pleased to have Dr. Odom come in. As I said to him one day recently, we introduced him, and that he's got some big shoes to fill. But just as importantly, his wife does as well. But I want to give just a brief example of what Dr. Bell has used the resources, the way he has used the resources of our university to help the community. A couple years ago, the Chamber of Commerce had a desire to have the first ever gubernatorial debate outside of the 4 metroplexes. And we weren't certain that could be accomplished, and it would never have occurred without Dr. Bell proactively using the resources of that university, and some individuals think that it proved to be the best debate for that 2 years ago. But that's just one example of many, many I could give you of how he has proactively been involved in the community with the City Council, with the Chamber of Commerce. And my last comment is this. If ever there is a lady that sets the standard to be the First Lady, it's Gloria Bell. She absolutely is so respected in her community by her genteel manners and her presence, and the faculty, the staff, and particularly the students, Lee, I think you'd agree with this, they just hold her in the highest esteem. Gloria, would you stand, please, so we can give you a round of applause? And even though we're all in Cookeville sad to see you leave, we do wish you the very best, Dr. Bell. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments by regents? If not, motion is before us with proper second. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. opposes, same sign. Dr. Bell, would you please come down and make some comments, because you know you are dearly loved and admired.
Vice Chairman Duckett, Regent Copeland, thank you for those very kind remarks. Members of the board and Chancellor, I appreciate the purple tie. That was a nice touch today. And members of the TBR staff, thank you for this honor. Thank you for the kind remarks. Thank you for all that you do for higher education in the great state of Tennessee. I have enjoyed the privilege, we have enjoyed the privilege of serving Tennessee Tech University and the Board of Regents, and I have enjoyed the wonderful friendships that we've made with so many regents, with the staff members, with our many friends in the TBR system. To my colleagues, the fellow presidents and directors, I certainly want to say thank you for the outstanding work that you do and for being so supportive of each of us in our work at Tech and over the system. And as Regent Copeland said, the presidency is a team sport, and the most important member of my team was most would say the quarterback of that team was Gloria Bell. So, Gloria, would you stand up again? Thank you. She was my first lady long before we moved to Walton House, and she's been a wonderful first lady for Tech. We have been blessed by the many friendships. We've been blessed beyond measure by the wonderful experiences we've had at Tech. We have intensely enjoyed these past 12 years, except for a budget or two hearing. No, we have really enjoyed every minute of it, and we will have a lot of treasured memories forever. Thank you for this honor, and thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Bell. Next, we have a resolution of appreciation for Jeff Davis, and Regent Fran Markham will present that.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I'd like to do this a little bit differently. Jeff, would you come to the podium, please? Where are you? I'm not going to have you, Jeff? Where is he? He's on the beach. Oh. I was going to have him stand and be present. Okay. Jeff. Okay, this is for you, Jeff. I'm reading for you. Whereas Mr. Jeffrey B. Davis has faithfully served the Tennessee Technology Center at Knoxville as director since 2007, and whereas as he began his career in the Tennessee Board of Regents system at the Knoxville Area Vocational Technical School, which is now known as the Tennessee Technology Center at Knoxville, as maintenance utility worker in 1974, and served as the shop supervisor from 1979 to 1986. And whereas he served as the assistant director at the Tennessee Technology Center at Knoxville from 1986 to 2007, and the interim director from 2006 to 2007, and whereas he is a graduate of the University of Tennessee with a BS degree in Industrial Arts and received a Master's of Arts degree from the Tennessee Technological University in Instructional Leadership, and whereas during his tenure at the Tennessee Technology Center at Knoxville, FTE and headcount increased by 22%, and whereas he has served on the Career and Technical Advisory Board of the Knox County School System since 2002, and the Knoxville Teachers Federal Credit Union Board of the Board of Directors since 1991. And whereas he has served in numerous leadership roles with the Tennessee Board of Regents, to include serving on the TTC Directors Executive Subcouncil from 2008 to 2010, TT Summer Conference In-Service Planning Committee, Student Information Management System Committee, TTC Banner Task Force, TTC Compensation Study Committee, and as chair of the TTC Practical Nursing, Dental Assisting, and Truck Driving Curriculum Committees. Whereas he completed the first Tennessee Technology Center Leadership Program class in 2000. Whereas he shall be missed by fellow colleagues, faculty, staff, students, and alumni of the Tennessee Technology Center at Knoxville. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Tennessee Board of Regents wishes to recognize the outstanding career of Mr. Jeffrey B. Davis and expresses its appreciation for his superb leadership. We wish you the very best, Jeff, for your outstanding 33-year career. And I make that a motion.
Thank you, Regent Markham. It has been moved for the resolution of appreciation for Jeff Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Regent Kisper. Any comment? Hearing none. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed is the same. Thank you. Next item is a resolution of appreciation for Jim Dixon. That will be presented by Regent Griscom.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Whereas Mr. James Dixon has faithfully served the Tennessee Technology Center at Pulaski as director since 1998, and whereas he is a native of Tennessee and graduated from the University of Tennessee Martin in 1970 with a BS degree in history and received a master's degree in administration and supervision in 1976 from UT Martin. And whereas he taught history at Ripley High School in Ripley, Tennessee from 1973 to 1978, and was selected by the JCs as the Outstanding Teacher of the Year in 1977. Served as counselor at Ripley State Area Vocational Technical School from 1978 to 1982, and Assistant Director of the Tennessee Technology Center at Pulaski from 1982 to 1998. Providing 40 years of service in the field of education in Tennessee. And whereas he served in the United States Army from 1971 to 73 and the U.S. Naval Reserve from 1974 to 1976. And whereas he established the first plastic injection molding and solar photovoltaic training programs in Tennessee, 5 instructional service centers, and dual enrollment partnerships with 8 area high schools, significant growth in special industry training, increased TTC Pulaski student enrollment from a Tier 3 to a Tier 2 institution, and increased the number of full-time programs at TTC Pulaski from 9 to 18. And whereas he was a member of the JC's, Giles County Chamber of Commerce Board, Workforce Board SDA 10, TTC Executive Directors Council, and honored as the Employer of the Year and awarded the Paul Harris Fellow for his work in the Pulaski Rotary Club. And whereas he shall be missed by fellow colleagues, faculty, staff, students, and community leaders and alumni of the Tennessee Technology Center at Pulaski. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Tennessee Board of Regents wish to recognize the outstanding career of Mr. James Dixon and express appreciation for his superb leadership, and I move its adoption.
Thank you, Regent Griscom. It has been properly motioned that the resolution be approved. Is there a second? Second by Regent Roddy. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposes the same sign. Motion is approved. Mr. Dixon. There you are. Yes. Come forward. Thank you, Jim. Last resolution is a resolution of appreciation for Vice Chancellor Paula Short. Dr. Short is not with us today. I think it was mentioned yesterday that she has accepted a position with the University of Houston. However, I will call on Regent Thomas to present that resolution.
A resolution in appreciation for the service of Dr. Paula Myrick Short as Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs of the Tennessee Board of Regents. Whereas Dr. Paula Myrick Short assumed the position of Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs on December 3rd, 2001, whereas Dr. Short guided the implementation of Defining Our Future initiative at the TBR, including reducing credit hours to degree, elimination of low-producing programs, adoption of a common calendar, removal of remedial education from universities, and implementation of online degree programs to meet identified statewide educational improvements and budget reductions. And whereas she steered the development and board approval of the system-wide general education core curriculum, and whereas she provided leadership for the Regents Online Campus Collaborative that since its inception in 2001 has grown to over 25,000 students, as well as the development of the Master of Science in Nursing program offered through the Regents Online Campus Collaborative, where annual enrollments have grown 330% with an average annual growth rate of approximately 29%. And whereas Dr. Short introduced the academic audit process and expanded its use to over 300 academic programs throughout the TBR system to ensure ongoing assessment of academic quality work, and whereas she established the Regents Academic Leadership Institute to provide for continuous leadership development of department heads at TBR universities and community colleges, and whereas Dr. Short directed the Tennessee Board of Regents system-wide strategic planning process resulting in the setting new directions, TBR strategic plan for 2005-2010, and the charting the course, TBR strategic plan for 2010 and 2015. And whereas she established and led the Tennessee Teaching Quality Initiative and redesign of teacher education in TBR, culminating in the nationally recognized Ready to Teach teacher education program. And whereas Dr. Short led the system-wide redesign of developmental education, which has received national recognition and numerous awards, and whereas she honorably served as mentor to several Maxine Smith Fellows, and whereas Dr. Short directed implementation of the Complete College Act 2010, including initiatives including cohort programming, block scheduling, and articulation agreements between community colleges and all public universities in Tennessee for 49 transfer pathways. And whereas she has led the effort to establish a comprehensive website to contain essential information for students and faculty to follow in the curricula adopted for the Tennessee transfer pathways. And whereas she maintained an active presence and an academician throughout publication of journal articles and book chapters, as well as co-authoring a full-length book on academic quality. And whereas Dr. Short secured $500,000 in legislative funding for the Teacher Quality Initiative pilots 2008-2009, as well as funding of more than $1 million by the Lumina Foundation and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in support of the TBR completion agenda. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tennessee Board of Regents expresses its sincere appreciation to Dr. Paula Myrick Short for her dedication and many contributions to the system over the past 10.5 years. Further, the board wishes her well as she assumes her new position at the University of Houston as Distinguished Professor of Education and Founding Director of the Institute on Policy, Research, and Evaluation. I move the adoption of this resolution, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Regent Thomas. You've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second. Second by Regent Roddy. Any comments?
I would only like to make the comment that I've worked closely with Dr. Short for the 7 years I've been on this board, And she, as well as fulfilling admirably her duties as the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs at the Board of Regents, has gained national recognition for many of the programs that she participated in at national associations. She is truly has been a wonderful Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and it is with sadness that I see her going on to the University of Houston.
Regent Markham.
I would like to say thank you to Dr. Short for her years of service to the Tennessee system, and I know that she'll make a big difference and an impact in Texas. I wish her well.
Any others? Thank you. You heard the motion and a second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is the same. Thank you, Dr. Short. We've reached the close of the agenda of the meeting. There's a couple of announcements, one of which is the board will take a board photo immediately following the meeting. And we're going to have to get directions from Sonja and Robert as to where we need to go for that. Secondly, the September quarterly meeting will be held at Cleveland State Community College in Cleveland, Tennessee. The committee will begin after lunch on Thursday. The committee meetings will begin on lunch after Thursday, with full board meeting on Friday the 21st. I'll ask Chancellor, do you have any remarks?
Mr. Chairman, I just would like to, in addition to the work that Sonja has already been thanked for a couple of times, Phyllis Anderson, Sandy McFarland, Pat Massey, all from the central office, also contributed greatly to the success of this meeting. I think while some of us were out maybe enjoying our evening last night, they were here getting things ready for today's meeting. So we'd like to thank them very much for that effort.
And I was going to add at least some of those thank yous because I didn't have all of the names, but I do know it was a team effort, and I appreciate that. I also hope for those of you who don't get to Memphis that often, you've enjoyed your brief stay here in Memphis because we, like all of the communities, have a lot to offer. And if you didn't get to partake of it, please come back and partake of it. Then lastly, Dr. Essex, again, thanks to you and your staff for hosting us on this lovely campus. We've enjoyed the hospitality, and I'll ask if there's any further business to come before us. If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Important item. All righty, it's been moved, properly second. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.